Hey guys, welcome back to the land of books and movies. And this week starts a part one of a 13 book, three-season Netflix series, and one movie. And it is a series of unfortunate events. This is part one, covering the bad beginning, and the reptile room, and the wide window, which I left in my locker at work, as well as the movie and the first six episodes of the miniseries that correspond with the first three books. My first observation of the miniseries and the movie is that if there was not an almost 10-year gap between the movie and the miniseries, one would be forgiven for thinking the same talent who played Violet Baudelaire had come back to reprise her role. My second observation is that the youngish character actors who played Count Olaf look like they're wearing the old guy version of blackface. I get it. In all situations, this is kind of a self aware dark comedy, and we're meant to take this with a grain of salt. The mini-series follows the book very closely with a little bit of dramatic license, taken with the addition of Mr. Poe's wife, who is a newspaper reporter with the absolute worst interpersonal skills, such as, bubbling over her latest story in front of the Baudelaire kids at the forefront of their tragedy. There's also the narration of the story in the book translated over into the miniseries by Lemony Snicket, like he is retelling his investigation. We also see this in the movie, but not as much. Sunny is also comically over resourceful for a baby. And finally, there are periodic snippets of the presumed dead Baudelaire parents incognito on their latest mission. This is a recurring theme in the show that there is a network of secret agents that is largely absent in the movie. And if it's in the book series, it has yet to reveal itself as I'm only three books in. Other than that, so far so close. The first two episodes follow the bad beginning very closely. Where I just lost my place on my script. Yes, the Baudelaires lose their home and their parents and are moved in with Count Olaf immediately. They meet and befriend Justice Strauss just as quickly, and their visits with her are a lot more frequent in the book. Count Olaf treats them like they are a cooking and cleaning meal ticket. And in the book, the acting troupe members are just as awful. In the mini-series, they show their shaky loyalty to him right away by tucking into the pasta puttanesca meal with enthusiasm. Also, in the book and the miniseries, no time is wasted in assembling the marvelous marriage play in order to get Violet married to him and guarantee his access to her fortune, and threatening Sunny's life to lock her in. And Klaus finds her a legal loophole by reading through Justice Strauss's library that if she signs the marriage certificate with her non dominant hand, it's not legally binding, which is what she does. And in the miniseries, the threat of killing Sunny is neutralized when she beats the hook handed man at poker, and the wedding is off and the jig is up. And on a side note, I also know a little enough about contract law and civil litigation that duress, such as the threat of, I don't know, killing one's sibling in order to force a contract, such as a marriage, nullifies it. All right. In the book, and also, the next stop is also the Reptile Room. Let me see. Reptile Room, where they move in with Uncle Monty and all his reptiles, particularly the extremely deadly viper. The mini-series and the movie make it look like the kids were there for one day before Count Olaf shows up in a weak disguise as Stefano and kills Monty and makes it look like one of his snakes did it. In the show, Sunny proves that the incredibly deadly viper is innocent. And in the book, I have to sacrifice plugging in my mouse in order to have my light. So bear with me while I fumble through my script. It's more complex. In the book, they live with him for months before everything we see in the show happens. When Count Olaf, in disguise as Stefano, shows up and moves in and is involved with the planned trip to Peru before he kills Monty and frames one of the snakes. While Mr. Poe is there watching over them while the death is being investigated, Count Olaf, acting as Stefano, tries to expedite taking the kids with him to Peru. In order to stop him and prove his guilt, Violet picks the lock to his briefcase to find the murder weapon, and Klaus proves he could have never been a real assistant for a reptile expert like Monty by reading about the snake accused of the fatal bite and finding out that that particular snake was a constrictor and not a venomous biter. Case closed. Next up and next book are The Wide Window, with the timid grammar snob Aunt Josephine. And not a lot of time passes between their arrival there and when Count Olaf in the Captain Sham disguise catches up with them. Weasels his way in as a romantic partner for Josephine. These two episodes match the book very closely, except for two things. In order to reach Curdled Cave and find Josephine, they break into Captain Sham's boat rental business, which he kind of put together pretty quickly in order to pull off this sham. They break into that boat rental business and steal a sailboat. And when Count Olaf, as Captain Sham, catches up with them, Mr. Poe by his side, Sonny proves who he is by biting his fake peg leg in half and revealing the tattooed ankle. The rest of it, triggering their peppermint allergy to buy them some time, the house falling into the lake, and navigating the lake during the hurricane, and Josephine tucking tail and handing over the children before being pushed into the lake and consumed by lachrymose leeches is all the same. And that is all for book versus miniseries. And now on to the movie. The movie makes it look like all this unfolded in the phase of a few days at best because the Baudelaires wear the same clothes throughout the movie. There's also a complete reversal of the unfortunate events and a bittersweet ending. First off, shortly after they move in with Count Olaf, the meal for the acting troupe wasn't procured with a small amount of money and a borrowed cookbook like in the book. They searched the cluttered and filthy kitchen for what was available. They settled on pasta puttanesca, and as a side note, when I first rented this movie, no, I actually bought the DVD, and I kind of went on a series of unfortunate events kick. I just kind of got hooked on that movie, and pasta puttanesca had me like running to the grocery store every day after work to buy their fresh ravioli. I make that myself. Weird little fact about me. Back to the video. All right, well, no one got to eat it because in a deleted scene in the movie, Count Olaf kicked it all off the table. Next is the attempt to kill them by parking his car on a train track with all the kids still inside. This is not in the book, but is inserted into the movie as a means to have each of the kids, flex their talents, Violet the inventor, Klaus the reader, and Sonny the biter, in order to survive. And this is followed by the move to Uncle Monty's, which is roughly the same as in the book, albeit summarized, followed by the move to Aunt Josephine's, where, by the way, the manifestation of all her fears of using her housewares is in both the movie and the miniseries, but not so much in the book. And then, after Josephine fails, and Mr. Poe lets Count Olaf take the Baudelaire kids back, but reminds them that he can't have at their money until Violet ages out, and specifies a few exceptions, including married couples. And that's when the marvelous marriage play just kind of bounces off his head as a last ditch effort to gain access to that fortune. And Klaus does in the movie what Violet does in the book, makes a grappling hook with an umbrella and some bed sheets to climb the tower and rescue Sonny. And in the tower, he finds the eye shaped large window magnifying glass used to start the fire that put them in the circumstances to begin with. Klaus, using that huge magnifying glass, torches the marriage certificate and frees Violet, and that's not in the book either. Neither was the bittersweet ending that is kind of on a cliffhanger since it ends on them receiving a delayed letter from their parents and falling asleep in Mr. Poe's car on their way to their next destination. Overall, I love the miniseries. It goes full circle and will be revisited in future videos. The movie, although I loved it, some parts of it were very cringy, particularly Count Olaf pretending to be a dinosaur, and the Stefano and Captain Sham scenes, and the Marvelous Marriage play. The movie also omits the anagrams for Count Olaf that appear here and there in the book and the miniseries. And that is my first part take on a series of unfortunate events. If you enjoyed this video and my channel, please consider subscribing, commenting, sharing, and checking out my sponsors in the description. And before I bow out, I just need to let you know that this might be my last video for the rest of the year because, like winter, overtime at my day job is coming. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next book and movie.